Before time began, there was the Bay. We know not where he came from, only that he held the power to take franchises and devoid them of life. That is how the Transformer movies were born. For a time, the Bayformers were popular, but like a horror franchise, one was good, and the others bad. And so began the vitriol. A vitriol that ravaged our world until the sequels were consumed by death, and Bay was lost to the far reaches of space. We scattered across YouTube, hoping to find some catharsis. Searching every video, every essay. And just when all discussion had ended, message of a new channel drew you to an unknown place. PointlessHub. But I was already too late.
Who is? Shut up, Grandma!
Oh hey, didn't see you there. I was just playing with my 1987 Gen 1 wide load. What a barbaric little atrocity he sure is. His existence is only pain, and his presence in this world upsets me greatly. A little wide load here isn't the only unfortunate thing the Transformers franchise has ever done. It's not the craziest opinion, especially on the internet, to say the Bayformer movies were a mistake.
What the hell kind of name is
Nitro Zeus?
Hey, this water is wet. It's been a rage that has only continued since 2007. The angry voices of millions calling out into the void as Micheal Bay cashes his big fat check into a Swiss bank account. These 5 movies fascinate me. Each film found some way to be worse than the one that came before, and it was never in the typical generic Hollywood way. When these movies failed, it was in a spectacular fashion that only Micheal Bay could provide.
I'm an inventor. This could be a game changer for me. If I can apply that technology to my inventions, we never have to worry about money again.
Today, when people complain about blockbuster movies, as in just, Marvel, it's the same criticisms. The action looks bland, they're too safe, a cookie cutter of mass-produced corporate blandness. But I remember back in my day, when the blockbusters were Transformers, and with each movie, they found new and unique opportunities to utterly shit the bed. This was not safe. This was pure 40K chaos fueled by the warp, powered by the strange sexual energy and coked up mind of Bay and his writers. Sure, Eternals will praise itself for having a sex scene, but you know what we had in 2009? It's made $830 million. I want to go on a journey, not simply laughing at Transformers, because I actually enjoy some aspects in each movie, except for this one. This one only fills me with pain and dread.
I'm an inventor.
I don't want to use Transformers as a punching bag. I want to dissect this franchise. One video at a time, to at least understand why things turned out the way they did. Like a research paper into the school of Bayformers. I want to know what the thought process was. All of this culminating into the avant-garde student film Transformers 5: The Last Night. But before we get to this, we need to go back to the origins. Back to a time after Gen 1 and Beast Wars, but before Transformers 1. The crossroads of a franchise, 2003. In the early 2000s, Hasbro was spiraling. Furbies had come and gone, My Little Pony wouldn't reboot for another 10 years and ruin everything, the age of action figures and toys had ended, kids only wanted to play with space toys. So Hasbro was sitting around and knew they had to do something. Nothing revitalizes a dead property like a movie reboot. Great, but which property? Make a movie based on Perfection? Or Sorry? Or Battleship? Wait, no, I didn't mean like that. I take it back. So Hasbro thought to themselves, let's dust off an old 80s property that recently hadn't gotten enough love. And so it was decided they would make a movie based on the popular franchise G.I. Joe.
Too fast! Oh, fuck!
But then the US invaded Iraq, and for some reason that was seen as bad taste. Well, shit. What else do we have? How about Transformers? Yeah, that works. And so Transformers was greenlit. Spielberg was brought on to produce, and in true Spielberg fashion, he literally had nothing to do with production except for finding someone else to do all the work. And that someone else was Micheal Bay, who looked at the idea once, probably saw a clip of the original show.
You can't keep me in here, Megatron! Ah!
And then turned it down, saying he didn't want to make a movie based on kid toys. Until they told him that these toys have, you know, a backstory. I don't know, maybe that probably blew his mind because suddenly he was on board. With Bay on the project and these two chuckle-nuts writing, the movie got off the ground. Speculation was abound from fans who grew up with it. Imagine if you were one of them. Suddenly, there are leaks. Low-res images appear of what is supposedly Megatron's face.
Say goodnight to your Megatron!
Bumblebee is a Camaro now? Oh my, how could this be? Shia LaBeouf? Even Steven's boy? Oh god, this isn't the Transformers I grew up with at all. They're going to ruin this integral franchise. So in case you think Internet Nerd Rage was, a new thing, I got something to tell ya. Had we even gotten the original designs, they probably wouldn't have worked in a movie like this. Because Bay wanted to first and foremost make a disaster movie. Which meant the Decepticons weren't the dumbasses of the original series. They were entirely alien forces of nature. And as a kid going to see this movie for the first time, my first interaction with Transformers wasn't these designs. It wasn't this or this, it was this. Time for the bait and switch. The first Transformers movie is actually pretty good. You know, in context with other summer blockbusters, both before and after. It still, you know, has flaws.
I'm hot, makeup smelting, hurts my eye.
Some Bay quirks just infused in its DNA, but at least it feels like there's some passion behind it. And this was the only one out of 5 movies that did. Is it peak cinema? In some ways, yes. But I think it works for attempting what it was trying to do. Be a disaster movie with robots. That's it. But before getting into the good and the bad.
The boy's pheromone levels suggest he wants to mate with the female.
Let's quick recap just to jog your memory. There is a thing called the Allspark, a giant GameCube that gave all the Transformers life, until they retconned that. The civil war between Autobots and Decepticons led to Cybertron being entirely destroyed. And since this was the first Transformers thing I watched as a kid, I had no idea the movie just made it up. In the original series, Cybertron wasn't obliterated by the war. The Autobots just lost. They had to flee and became war refugees, while the Decepticons kept control of a still very much alive planet. Cybertron was simply under their control, and after 4 million years, it was running out of energon.
Losing power.
Energon is just water for them. It's like liquid electricity that they fill up in glowing squares and then drink to keep going. So what was the evil Decepticon plan in the original series? Just steal human electricity, of course. Put it into cubes and send it back to Cybertron to keep everyone, you know, alive.
Suck this Earth planet dry!
The worst thing the Decepticons were doing was breaking into places like dams or nuclear plants and siphoning their power like squatters. On a side note, whenever Transformers drink Energon, it acts like alcohol.
Boy, these are good!
And they get hammered. So you can make the argument that the entire Cybertron war was just over booze.
Ah, those were the good old days!
Anyway, back to the movie. The Allspark is just a MacGuffin.
I'm never gonna give you the Allspark! I feel like a fruitcake saying that, Mike.
We'll call it MacGuffin 1. Decepticons want to use it to rebuild Cybertron, however they don't know where it is. What do? Use Google to find Shia LaBeouf's eBay account and take him down for scalping PS5s off the internet.
PS5s.
The Decepticon wants Sam Witwicky's glasses that he got from his great-great-grandpa. We'll call these MacGuffin 2. These laser-blasted glasses were so important they were handed down from generation to generation, but I guess not so much for being sold on eBay in 2007. Because of MacGuffin 2, every bot wants to get to Sam. Imagine if this was you in this situation. You're selling, some piece of junk family heirloom, and suddenly space robots descend from the sky and ask you about your eBay page.
eBay.
Like, what do you even do in that situation? You ask them to bid on it. Come on, Sam, you gotta keep up the grind. Shenanigans occur, the Autobots commit some heavy property damage, obliterating the Witwicky's insurance rates.
Wow, that was tingly.
And Sam has some happy time. All is going peachy until the feds show up and everyone involved is sent off to Guantanamo, never to be heard or seen from again. Sam lives the rest of his life being converted to Islam by radical extremists, as he realizes the true enemy wasn't the Decepticons, but the infidels all along. Alright, so I'll admit, this movie has some problems. But they're problems that only get more emphasized in the sequels. So much so it just makes the first one seem tame in comparison. The overall sexual energy that's a staple of any Bay film.
Listen, I was wondering if I could ride you home.
The one-liners that really don't work.
You feeling lucky, punk?
But all of these are such low-hanging fruit. You've heard these all before. I don't want to waste your time. You don't want to waste mine. I just want to understand how the ideas in this movie came to be. Like I said, I did a lot of research in the world of Micheal Bay. Way too much. Please help me. And for a franchise lacking a lot of complexity, it's remarkably dense under the hood.
Singing is like repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats itself, repeats itself. Kick and counter, kick and counter, kick.
What I'm saying is a whole lot of people put countless hours and effort into a film that ended up being a 7 out of 10 on IMDb. Anyone can have any opinion they wish on a film. And I can see how old fans might have went into this film and been incredibly put off and disappointed by these designs. It left a sour taste in their mouth. I get it. Now that said, since this was my first interaction with Transformers, I did not care. I did not know Ironhide used to be red. I did not know Starscream was the best character.
I guess that makes me the new leader.
Now, as an adult revisiting Gen 1, of course these designs are more visually interesting and distinct compared to this. I played the Cybertron games too. This has been an opinion for a while. The 1986 movie is still the best of them all just through aesthetics alone. However, the 1986 movie and Transformers 2007 are doing two entirely different things. And for the story this film was trying to tell, I think these designs work. For this movie, and this movie only. Now, early on in the project's history, there were ideas to keep the robots as close to the original designs as possible. Instead of the complex organic designs, the Transformers were going to appear, well, blocky. Yet as the setting went closer to a disaster approach, a more realistic setting for the general audience, they had to find a way to differentiate Decepticons from the Autobots for the first-time viewers. Good guys were more human and spoke human languages, while the bad guys were more alien, came in a variety of different shapes, and other than Megatron, barely spoke at all.
Suck this Earth planet dry!
While in the original Transformers, the Decepticons had their own unique designs of various shades of blue and purple. This wasn't going to work here, mainly because of the type of vehicles Bay wanted to use for the enemy. The Autobots would drive civilian cars, while Decepticons turned into military hardware. It gave them an overwhelming presence and an authoritarian nature. In the first movie at least, the only Decepticon car that appears was Barricade, a police car.
Based?
So yes, it would have been cool to see more colorful Decepticons, but it wouldn't really have helped them, you know, blend in. This movie was trying to take the concept of robots in disguise to its horrifying conclusion. The military wouldn't know who's friendly or not, and as much as it would have looked cool to see a familiar character, it wouldn't work if Starscream was still red and white. Which one's the enemy? Oh geez, I don't know. Now that doesn't excuse the weird deep voice and pug face.
The humans have taken it.
That's just hilariously stupid. But while they are less colorful, upon revisiting this movie, I was actually shocked how distinguishable the Decepticons actually were from one another. It isn't until the sequels when they descend into a generic gray mass of unrecognizable parts. Yet nothing made fans angrier than those damn hot rod flames. Why does Optimus have hot rod flames? Why is he not red? Cameras. That's the reason, I'm being serious. Micheal Bay, if he knows anything, he knows how to shoot cars. Bay's reasoning was that nothing is harder to film on camera than red paint on cars. Apparently, the way light reflects off of red paint absolutely messes with lighting. The solution to this red color problem was those very much despised hot rod flames, as the blue truck appeared better on film, while the flames would give his chest a similar red appearance when he transformed. This was also why Ironhide was changed to black as well. Now their faces are an entirely different story. I mean, oof. I'll be honest, I really don't like the realistic faces in any of the Bay movies. In fact, they only get worse from here on out. Any new Autobot went into this uncanny valley of humanoid faces, while any new Decepticon just became an alien mess. Despite the creative decisions being hit or miss, I will say I am impressed, if by anything, by Micheal Bay's team. Bay films are often just written off as Bay films, but movies are collaborative. Apparently, Bay has a very specific team of people he used for all 3 of these films. For a franchise that descended into nothing but a CGI mess, it's really weird how practical the effects started off. And it's even stranger when looking at the films that are made today with their over-reliance on computers and green screen, when comparing it to Transformers 1. Today, we only have endless hordes of underpaid effects artists that are outsourced to multiple different studios. So forgive me if it was kind of refreshing to see Micheal Bay, of all people, praise his team on the amount of dangerous stunts they were able to accomplish practically on the ground.
A really spotless track record for such a long time, and you know, knock on wood, because it's by the way, it's just a dangerous business. What we do, what they're doing is dangerous.
You really get the sense that for this first film, everyone was firing on all cylinders. Remove the sequels from your mind. This was the first time that Transformers were brought into live action. Everyone that worked on these films grew up with the series. And while, yeah, there were pitfalls and imperfections, this movie actually tried. But this really just made me think, how far have we fallen? In 2007, this was seen as the symbol of mass-produced Hollywood garbage. And yet, compared to today, this feels like old, quaint Hollywood. I mean, Transformers 1 didn't have a pre-vision third act. It wasn't the bare minimum in our corporate dystopia.
Good job.
So yeah, I guess I really didn't talk about, you know, the characters or plot or whatever, but I have 2 more of these films to get into, where there is not more that meets the eye, where you don't want eyes, you just want death.
Class dismissed.